وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى سنته إلى يوم الدين. Last week we talked about آية 101 وإذا بدلنا آية مكان آية والله أعلم بما ينزل قالوا إنما أنت مفتر بل أكثرهم لا يعلمون. And when we substitute or replace one miraculous sign or one ayah verse with another, and Allah knows best which He sent down, they say you are only fabricating that. No, but most of them do not know. There is something in Islam called the abrogation. Abrogation, that some people believe that there are ayat in the Quran that was revealed for certain time, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abrogate that, which means that the ruling is no longer valid, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replace it with something. And there are evidence about that in the Quran. There is no doubt about that. And some people say abrogation is not really in the Quran. There is another say. Abrogation is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for instance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send several books, and then when a new book would come with new ruling which overrule the books, the ruling before. And this is what the Quran is talking about. This is the opinion of a second group. That, and if you look at the ayah, is the Jews here, when the Prophet ﷺ would come, the Quran is revealed with some ruling that's different from what the ruling in the Torah, the Old Testament. They will go nuts. They say, you fabricating this, because if this is coming from the same God, so it should not be contradiction. But they do not understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as society and as humanity would progress, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some ruling that would be fitting for that society is not going to be fitting for that society. And the third group is, they say that this is one thing, the abrogation, the actual abrogation is from one book to the second book. But there are things in the Quran which called gradation, which means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He wanted to forbid alcohol, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not come and forbid it overnight. There was stages, okay? And the ulama say, even in the Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran He say, لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى, don't pray if you are intoxicated. Some the ulama, they say that this was abrogated, which does not really make any sense, because if this is abrogated, means that you can pray while you intoxicated. But the idea here is, some of the ulama say, yes, there is change ruling in the Quran, but the idea here is not the new rule is not gonna overrule the other one. It's not gonna abrogate the other one. And their opinion makes sense. That the example that I gave last week is, if you have a new Muslim in the United States come to you today, he say, I want to embrace Islam, but I am alcoholic. What would you tell him? Would you tell him, no, go finish, get cured from alcohol and then come back and then make shahada? No. The ulama say, we can apply the same ruling that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala applied for the first generation. So we will tell him, the only difference here is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took the first generation one step at the time, nobody really knew the final stage. But in this case, because we know the final stage, we'll sit down with him and we'll tell him that alcohol is haram, you have to get rid of it. But again, if you need some help, medical help, stuff like this, at least do not drink during the day, because you need to pray. So the ulama say that even this ayat that some people say it's abrogated is not really abrogated, because until the day of judgment, There would be people coming to Islam and you do not know what their background, and again, when this happened, we can apply to them what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala applied to. If this is clear?
Yeah, it is, but there's a question here.
Okay.
If you open the door for the abrogation or badalna, like Allah says, this is kind of accepting the fact that as society changes or progresses, you cannot hold on to the same rulings forever. You also have to progress.
That's true. That is true. If this is a man-made ruling, but when you talk about the creator of heaven and the earth and the creator of you and me, that does not apply to him. Otherwise, he cannot be God. You understand this? If God is subject to trial and error, and he does not know that what's going to happen 1,000 years from now, or 2,000 years, or a million years from now, that's not God that we believe in. So Allah, that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Wallahu a'lamu bima yunazzil. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the final word, the final message, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of heaven and earth, he knows that this is suitable for humanity until the day of judgment. And don't forget, if you really look at what was abrogated, it really has nothing to do with halal and haram. You understand this? Was nothing has to do with faith, aqidah. So the skeleton of the deen, even the deen since Adam ﷺ until today, if you look throughout the Quran, every prophet who came in looked through the Quran, 114 surah, look through the Quran, أن اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره. This is the message. The message is worship Allah, you have no ilah except him. How do you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can change it from one generation to the second generation. But he say, this is the final message, Muhammad is the final, and I know what I am revealing. You understand this? Okay.
Can I just add also?
Absolutely.
Okay, please don't misunderstand. I mean,
No, I'm not misunderstanding. I'm expecting the worst from you. Yeah.
What I'm saying, there is absolutely no compromise on the fundamentals.
Absolutely. Yes.
What I'm saying, the peripherals, Allah has himself has openly given the scope for to evolve, like these little bitty rules, they have the chance of evolving as the society progresses.
Give me an example.
That's what I'm getting.
Yes.
To do prayer, before the prayer, do wudu, right? The fundamental is, oh my God, you have to wash your feet, up to the ankles and blah, blah, blah. Okay, those, maybe in the desert at that time, that was in the summer month, it's okay, because they didn't have shoes there.
I think I can relate some of that. Like you mentioned that Sheikh Farid. Like,
yeah.
One of your...
He's worse than you. I really thought that...
Sheikh Shafi'i, when he was in Iraq, he
Yeah.
had some ruling.
Yes.
When he went to Egypt, he
Yeah.
had a different ruling because he said, this society is different than. So I think maybe that's what you mean.
That's what I'm getting.
No. But here's again. You thinking about that's the biggest problem, and this is the biggest problem with people before Islam. The concept of Allah is all messed up. Christian wanted a God that they touch. That's why they stick with Jesus. You understand this? They cannot understand the true concept of God. So what he's saying is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created you and I. When he revealed the final message, he said this final message is forever until the end of time. You understand this? So there is absolutely positively, the biggest problem with Christianity, because of the misconcept of God, the Pope have the power to change things, assuming that the Pope has connection to God. If God does not know what is going to happen a million years from now, that does not deserve to be God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now for 1400 years, just I bet anybody, give me one ruling in Islam that can be changed. There is absolutely nothing to be changed. And the idea about that this was for the desert and stuff like that, that's not true. This is for everybody in every society until the day of judgment. The thing that you do not understand, I do not understand sometimes, that this Quran was not revealed to people in New York City or in Europe. Was revealed to everybody. You have tribes in Africa and in Asia and stuff like this. They do not have electricity. They do not have anything. You understand? 60% of the people do not have phones and stuff like that. So when you think about the Quran, and this is the beauty of it. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ وَمِن رِّبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran specifically, He say horses at war, in the people use at war. Don't you know that is being used now and it's going to be used until the day of judgment? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran was not revealed to you and I, was not revealed only to people in the desert, was revealed to every society until the day of judgment. How do you and I know that this world will change 100%? Not to be advanced, to go backwards. You understand this? So absolutely positively Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the message is absolutely positively the same. Worship Allah, do not worship anybody else. How do you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It changes from one society to another society. And that gradation absolutely makes sense. And your question and lots of questions will not be asked if you and I actually have the right concept of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He say, فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He say, before you worship me, I want you to know me. Because when I really know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when I study the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and try to envision the scope of that, lots of these questions will not be asked because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look at His names. I'm just going to give you an example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say one of His names Ash-Shaheed. Ash-Shaheed means an eyewitness. But an eyewitness can be just a haphazard. I just happen to be in the neighborhood, I watch something. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the Shaheed, He add another one. He say Ar-Raqib. Okay? So it is not just something by chance. Ar-Raqib is constantly watching. He's not only eyewitnessing, he's not witnessing something, but He is constantly. So when you really try to understand the scope of who Allah is, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He say وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ مَطْوِيَّاتٌ بِيَمِينِهِ, billions and the billions of light years, it is in His palm. وَالْأَرْضُ قَبْضَتُهُ يَوْمَ قَبْضَتُهُ. This is not qabda. Qabda this. Imagine. This is qabda, and the earth is there inside. So the concept of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is need to be understood. So you understand? Okay. Fadl.
So I was having a conversation with one of my colleagues, and he mentioned how his relatives came over for.
How was what?
One of his relatives, I think like his sister came. They came over for food. He's Christian, so one of his relatives came over for food, and I think she mentioned that that she couldn't eat certain foods because she was following like the Old Testament. So it's kind of similar to what you're talking about. That she's saying I'm following the Old Testament.
Yes.
He's saying that's abrogated. You're not supposed to follow that, and I'll follow the New Testament. In my mind, I'm thinking you're really supposed to follow the Quran, but I didn't want to say that right away.
The problem with this, Isa alayhi salam never came with ruling. In fact, Isa alayhi salam came in to apply the Old Testament. There is nothing in the message of Isa alayhi salam that have any sharia or any ruling. Absolutely not. You understand this? So for them to say that he's not following, in fact, by law, all Christians, the true Christians, they have to follow the law of Musa alayhi salam, because Musa alayhi salam is the one who has halal and haram, good and bad. But Isa alayhi salam, if you look at the Bible, everything in the Bible is like, we have books in Egypt that they say إرشادات لمن مش عارف إيه, at the end of the book it's only what do you call it,
Guidance.
Good words. I mean things that tender the heart. There is no ruling at all with Isa alayhi salam. Isa alayhi salam came in to bring people, the Jew, back to follow Musa alayhi salam. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he say, no, that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not make up anything. قُلْ نَزَّلَهُ رُوحُ الْقُدُسِ. In fact, is the one who revealed this, is Ruh al-Qudus, is the ultimately pure. This is the name of Jibreel alayhi salam, Ruh al-Qudus. قُلْ نَزَّلَهُ رُوحُ الْقُدُسِ. Say to them, Jibreel, the Holy Spirit, or the ultimately pure, has brought it down, but Jibreel had nothing to do with it either. قُلْ نَزَّلَهُ مِنْ رَبِّكَ. It is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from your Lord. بالحق, with the truth. ليثبت الذين آمنوا, to confirm the faith of those who have believed. وهدى وبشرى للمسلمين, and as a divine guidance from error and the glad tightening of everlasting delight near Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the Muslims, the people who are willing to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking now to the Jews, because the Jews, the true Jews, when the Quran was revealed, this was a way to strengthen their iman, because they knew. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he say, يعرفونه كما يعرفون أبناءهم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described the Jews, that they know everything about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Jews, in fact, moved to Medina because they were waiting for the Prophet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يعرفونه كما يعرفون أبناءهم. Imagine, you're not going to miss your kids. I mean, if you see your kids in a place, you can identify them. I hope so. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say that they know Muhammad. In fact, his physical being is described in the Torah. So there is no such a thing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, قُلْ نَزَّلَهُ رُوحُ الْقُدُسِ. People who say that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam made this up, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, you can say anything, but people among you who truly are believer, this book will strengthen and firm their iman. That's why lots of Jews in Medina, they absolutely embraced Islam right away. Abdullah ibn Salam, he say, I went outside Medina to wait for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and when he came in, people saw two people, saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr, and the people did not know who Muhammad is. So Sayyidina Abu Bakr realized that, so he stood up and he put something on the Prophet's head to save him from the sun. So everybody knew who Muhammad is. You understand this? Abdullah ibn Salam, he say, Wallahi, I embraced Islam before I talked to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just seeing him, I knew that he is the Prophet. So, and I told you the story before. Safiya, radiallahu ta'ala anha, the wife of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she's a Jew. And the reason she embraced Islam, because she overheard her father and her uncle after they went and they met the Prophet ﷺ, they came back home and he say, what do you think? The uncle say, yes, he is the Prophet. But wallahi, we will never follow him. You understand this? Because jealousy, because the Jews came, they really was, because from Ibrahim ﷺ until Muhammad ﷺ, everybody was from the Jew descent. So they by default, they were expecting the Prophet to be from them. So when he came from the Arabs, they could not take that, and they stood on. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he say, this Quran will strengthen the iman of the true believers, which is the people of the book. وَهُدًى وَبُشْرًا وَهُدًى وَبُشْرًا لِلْمُسْلِمِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he say, there is tremendous glad tightening that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending from al-Muslimin, the people who submit themselves. وَلَقَدْ نَعْلَمُ أَنَّهُمْ يَقُولُونَ إِنَّمَا يُعَلِّمُهُ بَشَرٌ. The Prophet ﷺ was accused of everything. Okay, the Arabs, they say that he was a magician, he was a poet, he was a kahin, he was a fortune teller, he was a sorcerer, he was all kind of things. But the Jew, look at this. وَلَقَدْ نَعْلَمُ أَنَّهُمْ يَقُولُونَ إِنَّمَا يُعَلِّمُهُ بَشَرٌ. Some of them, they say, this is so good, it cannot be from Muhammad. Somebody has to teach him. You understand this? They attacking the Quran, but in the meantime, they acknowledging how eloquent, how good this is. You know, when I say this is too good for you to come up with it, you understand this? But they saying it as an attack, but with the stupidity, they actually embracing the Quran. They say Muhammad cannot come up with something like this. This is he has to be taught by somebody. وَلَقَدْ نَعْلَمُ أَنَّهُمْ يَقُولُونَ إِنَّمَا يُعَلِّمُهُ بَشَرٌ. We know indeed that they say it's a man that teaches him. So it is an acknowledgement that the Quran, tremendous power here. It is so good to be said by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So some people say he made it up, but the Jews, they say it's too good for him to make it up. But they saying it as an attack to the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he say, لِسَانُ الَّذِي يُلْحِدُونَ إِلَيْهِ أَعْجَمِيٌّ. How could it be the tongue of the person that they point at him is not an Arab? How come an Arab does not know anything about the Arabic language? Teach Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam the Quran, which is very eloquent, which is totally in the Arabic language. It does not make any sense. And the ulama say, if he's that good, why didn't he come up with the Quran himself instead of teaching Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? You understand this? So وَلَقَدْ نَعْلَمُ أَنَّهُمْ يَقُولُونَ أَنَّمَا يُعَلِّمُهُ بَشَرٌ, and we say that we know that they say that somebody teach him. The Prophet ﷺ, they have two stories. One story that Muhammad ﷺ, when he was 8 years old, imagine this, when he went with his uncle to trip to Sham, to Damascus and this area, he sat down with what we call kahin or arif. Somebody invited them to dinner or lunch. So the Prophet ﷺ was 8 years old, and this guy taught Muhammad ﷺ everything in like half an hour or something like this. That's one story. The second story, there was a guy who does not speak, called A'jami. A'jami means does not speak Arabic. In Mecca, the Prophet ﷺ used to see him and say hello to him. They say that this guy is the one who taught Muhammad ﷺ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, how come somebody who does not master the Arabic language teach Muhammad the Quran, which is the highest of the Arabic language? وهذا لسان عربي مبين. يلحد means deviate. So they giving but instead of giving the credit to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, when I'm shooting an arrow and the arrow does not hit the target and to go, you know, right or left, this is al-had. Al-had means deviated or you know, and the Quran say yulhiduna ilayh. Yulhiduna ilayh means that they giving the credit not to Muhammad but giving the credit to somebody who does not even speak Arabic. So it is. So they would say this is not an Arab say. This is taught foreign to Muhammad. He cannot be the source. So in a way they are right, because Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not the author of this. Is the author of this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is two words between. There is a word called A'jami, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used. A'jami, al-A'jami, that somebody who does not master the Arabic language, even if he's an Arab. So it's called the A'jami. But al-Ajami, that's somebody who's not an Arab and he does not speak Arabic. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he say, ilayhi a'jami. A'jami means he does not have anything, does not know anything about the Arabic language. إن الذين لا يؤمنون بآيات الله لا يهديهم الله ولهم عذاب أليم. This is something that we need to spend some time on. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he say, this is a ruling which we call Sunan Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the rules that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set forth in this universe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, إن الذين لا يؤمنون بآيات الله. Those who do not believe or get touched by the miraculous signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never guide them. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. And for them there will be a severe punishment, painful punishment. This is something that we need to understand. Ayat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the miraculous signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are several. There is, the ulama say, there is something called Kitabullah al-Manzur, the book of Allah that's being reviewed. You see it, you watch it, which is the universe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, وَكَمْ مِنْ آيَةٍ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ يَمُرُّونَ عَلَيْهَا وَهُمْ عَنْهَا مُعْرِضُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he say, if you want a miracle, because some people complain about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they say all the prophets came with miracles except Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course he came up with the best and the continuous and the permanent miracle. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he say, if you really want a miracle, you don't have to look further. Just look at the universe. What miracle that else you want? You understand this? You know something? One of the scholars in Egypt, he say, people pay millions of dollars for portraits. You know, somebody is writing trees and bird sings and waterfalls and stuff like this. You spend millions of dollars, and people go to the museum and they spend hours looking at this. Why don't you go outside and look at it, which is alive, not this. You see a paint, but when you go to the park and look at this, you actually see the birds singing, you see the leaves falling, you see the waterfalls, you hear it. But people are blind just looking at this and spending times. You should see people in museums that this is so good, this is unbelievable. But go outside and see this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he say, if the universe, if you look at the universe and it does not touch your heart, if you look at the precision of this universe, and you do not come up, see, I give you the universe, but I give you faculties that you can use, and you can decode, and you can ponder, and you can understand that this universe, this precision cannot be haphazard. it has to be done by somebody, but that somebody has to have certain qualification. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, I gave you a book to read and I give you a book to see. And if these two does not move your heart, I will let you stay as you are. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, people whose heart are not moved by either book, these people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never intervene, will just let them stay the way you are. If you look at the story of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you look at the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, these are two prophets were actually illiterate. There was no school, they were not taught anything like this, but they not the only people, but they look, Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was fata means a person who is 12, 13 years old, 11 years old, fata, young boy. He rejected everything. He say, how can we worship idols? How is this universe, what the idols do? They rejected this. They look at the universe, that this universe has to be controlled by super being. It cannot be. It's not haphazard. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam rejected everything, and he used to go to the cave, and he does not know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's asking the Creator to give him some direction. But his fitrah rejected everything else. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, if you demolish your fitrah, your innate nature, if you just suffocate that, and these two books do not move you, and they do not even make you do not have to believe, but you have to believe that this universe cannot be haphazard, and there is superpower that controlling this. If you come to this conclusion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold your hand and show you the way. But if this does not move you, nothing else can move you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, those people who do not believe these ayat, these miracles, does not move them, I'm not going to intervene. لا يهديهم الله ولهم عذاب أليم. Is this clear?
Well, one of the things is, I would say, people usually start thinking about what they see before they come to the book, right?
Yes.
It doesn't work the other way around. You go to the book and then you look. So, because you have to really wonder who created all this. And that will start really guiding you to start kind of
Yes.
So there is I would say it's a process. If you come from no background and you start wondering, like what Prophet Ibrahim did, I mean, look at the sun, the moon, this. So you start with that, the creator, the ability of the creator first, and then that guides you to a path, which is.
And this is what happened with people who naturally believed. You know, when they ask the Bedouin do you believe? He say, you know something, I do not really have to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I see the droplets, the droppings of a camel, I know that a camel was here. There was a camel here. I do not have to see the camel. And he say, this universe, are you gonna telling me that this is created itself? And these people are not by our standards. They're not educated. They're not go to Harvard or something like this. Just simple people. And this is what we call al-fitra. Al-fitra means has nothing to do with education, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala build that inside us. We know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when you look at the universe, you know something. Sheikh Sha'rawi, he say something. He say, if you are in a desert, there is nothing there, and you took a nap, and just you woke up and you saw a beautiful table with all kind of food, are you gonna just go eat, Or you're going to think, what happened? Who brought this? Brought it? You understand this? So a human being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, وَجَعَلَ لَهُمْ سَمْعًا وَأَبْصَارًا وَأَفْئِدَةً فَمَا أَغْنَى عَنْهُمْ سَمْعُهُمْ وَلَا أَبْصَارُهُمْ وَلَا أَفْئِدَةُهُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tools to know Him. We know Him. We know Him. This is the first covenant that between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not leave us just with that covenant. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the tools that lead us to Him, and they did not make us responsible until we reach certain age that we can actually comprehend. You understand this? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, if I give you all this, and I give you the universe, and not only this, I send you also messengers. Because if you are oblivious, you do not understand. These teachers, the messengers, will lead you, will tell you, will bring it to your attention. So if ayat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether the universe or the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not move you towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is your problem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, لا يهديهم الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not intervene. You know, in this is we said this before. We need to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not misguide anybody. Astaghfirullah. That does not it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. People who believe and they do good deeds, يهديهم ربهم بإيمانهم. Because of their belief, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase their iman. And you understand? والذين اهتدوا. People who seek huda, زادهم هدى وآتاهم تقواهم. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, I want you to take the first step. You understand? Because iman, several levels. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, just to put your feet on the door, and I will help you, and I will open your heart, and I will infuse that light within your heart. But the only problem is, we're going to talk about this inshallah. Okay? Tfaddal.
I was talking to my friend like a few weeks ago, and he's all about science. So I'll tell him like the universe and things like that. He'll say science.
Okay.
How do we kind of like get them? I understand the hudas from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but is there anything that could make them think twice and like really think that of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because his thing, the book is the universe, but it's science.
Yeah.
He's not thinking Allah, but he's thinking science.
Well, wallahi, in my opinion, if he is really a scientist, if he really used science, that should lead him to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because science means that nothing is haphazard in this dunya. For something to happen, it has to have something that's doing it. This is science. So when you tell me, we believe in the Big Bang, there is nothing wrong with this. But the difference is, the Big Bang that they're talking about in our belief is controlled Big Bang. You understand? It's not a haphazard Big Bang, because a hazard Big Bang is not gonna create that universe, which is the precision within this universe is unbelievable. But just beyond any. So when you talk about if you really truly a scientist, that's science. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, وَجَعَلَ لَهُمْ سَمْعًا وَأَبْصَارًا وَأَفْئِدَةً. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He give, science is not something that we create. Science is something that exists, but we discover it. You understand this? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tools that the ulama say the best decoder. If you want to decode something, the best decoder is the human being. So if you really truly believe in science, that should lead you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no ifs and buts about it. But if you're gonna tell me science, if I do not see it, it does not exist, it does not make any sense. I mean, microbes 100 years ago, nobody see it, does not exist. You understand this? Just yesterday, they found a solar system. I don't know if you've seen that on the news. They found the solar system, how many billion years of light is exactly like our solar system. Just 1 day, 2 days ago did not exist. You understand this? So science, actual science, it should lead you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You understand? تفضل.
I understand what you're saying about, if you cannot find your faith in just, in seeing the universe and in reading the Quran, then, but I think that, the problem this causes is that, especially you see this a lot with young people, is that they have questions and they don't understand things. And if we always present Islam through the lens, look at Islam through the lens of theology, then there's a lot of questions that are not best answered through the lens of theology. That is not to say that the theology is wrong, but it is to say that Islam and Quran came, its purpose is to provide mankind with the best way of living in this world as an individual, interacting with, in their family, in their community, in their society. So that means that Islam is connected with your real life, which means that there is one dimension, very important dimension, which you are referencing, which is you view Islam through the lens of theology. But there are many questions. I think most of my life I always studied Islam only through the lens of theology. But when you start to examine Islam through the lens of other sciences, for example, if you, in addition to the theological lens, if you start to consider Islam through the lens of history, through the lens of jurisprudence, through the lens of economics, then you start to get answers to questions that were not, you could say, fully answered or well answered only when you look through the lens of theology. I find this a lot with young people, and what happens is that over time they start to accumulate so many questions, right? Because every time they have a question, they are only directed through the lens of theology to answer, and the question's never really quite answered.
Okay.
So what happens after a while is that they just kind of throw their hands.
No, but this is definitely a problem, but the problem goes a little bit beyond that, and the problem is you and I, who have kids, we do not know much about our deen. So what we teach our kids, we do not teach them anything. You understand? So all these questions, when you do not have the knowledge to teach your kids, or you have the knowledge but you're busy doing something else, this is the product. This is the product that we have. You know something? Just a simple thing. That when if I sit down and tell my kid, you know something? If you do something bad, how can we face people? Are people gonna say this is the son of Farid Fahmy? You understand this? So what I am telling him is if you do something bad, but nobody sees you, it is okay. But if somebody sees you and you are the son of Farid Fahmy, this is a big problem. But if we bring kids attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I can not a challenge, I can tell you without exaggeration, give me any question that you look at it from the history, from the Sharia, from anything that you cannot really give the people the right answer through the Islam. Islam cover everything. The problem with us, I was giving a khutbah today, and wallahi, look at how many of our kids, ISIS and Al-Qaeda and all these sick people recruit them. Why they recruit them? Because they play on their emotions, and our kids and us, We have no idea about our deen, and this is totally against our deen. So the biggest problem, if I tell you I finished college in Egypt, deen, religion, has absolutely no value at all. You know, yeah, I can finish college and I do not memorize anything. And the people who used in school to teach us about Islam, when we look at them, we laugh, because they do not represent Islam in any way, shape, or form. Do not forget, Akhi, that for hundreds of years, people who actually hate Islam in our Muslim countries, they took the soul out of our deen. They just, you know, you want to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can go to the masjid. But at your home, Islam has nothing to do with your home. Islam has nothing to do with your job. Islam has nothing to do with everything. This is how they brought us up. But I can tell you, and without exaggeration, give me anything that you think that it has no real answer, not only from theology, that Islam cannot entertain that and give you the answer. The truth is, this is the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The problem that we do not know it. And when our kids, how many phone calls I get every day, the people say, my son asked me this and this and this, and I have no idea what to tell him. This is the problem, because the problem, we do not give them an answer that satisfies them, and they accumulate, you know, things not being answered. People leave Islam altogether, and that's the problem. But if we understand our deen, and if we teach our kids the deen, wallahi, I challenge anybody to give me anything that Islam does not have an answer for it, and is not emotional answer.
I do not disagree with you. I think what I'm only trying to say is that we always are teaching Islam to everybody only through the lens of theology. But Islam incorporates all these other disciplines, and there's questions that you don't get a good answer for if you look only through that lens. Just, you know, one example I have is that
can you just elaborate about the lens of theology? Why am I asking this? If you look at the seerah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the seerah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in reality, it really has nothing to do with theology. This is a man who actually lived what you call theology, but lived it in real life. Why don't we? This is the problem. That's why the ulama say that with understanding the Quran, because this is the book, we need to study the seerah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam at least once a year, because this is it. You know, I can very easily, when my kid comes to me and they ask me, I say this is haram, this is haram, this is haram. Okay, and then what? I'm not giving them any alternative. You understand? Islam is much more elastic and open than this. That's why when Ra'fat was talking about, look at Imam al-Shafi'i when he was in Iraq. He had his fiqh, al-fiqh al-qadim, the old fiqh. And when he moved to Egypt, the basics, the skeleton is the same. He cannot, I'm going to give you an example. Riba is haram. There is no ifs and buts about it. Nobody can come and say riba is halal. Okay? But there is almost unanimous with the contemporary scholars that they say when you are in a society and you are at big disadvantage, not taking advantage of the system take advantage, it's not haram. Nobody comes and say riba is halal. You understand this? But Islam is accommodate all these things, all the changes. But the problem is we do not understand our deen. That's why most of the so-called teachers of Islam, actually, I'm going to give you one example, wallahi. When we first came here, I've been in this country 46 years. And when we came here, all the scholars from the East come to us, and when we ask them questions, they give us the answer that they were taught in Al-Azhar. You understand? But in reality, that does not apply to us. Because we are a minority, and that's why contemporary scholars, they say there is fiqh, there is a law that apply to minority groups like us. But that fiqh does not go out of Islam. Islam still accommodate that. But people do not understand. You go to people who do not understand Islam. Everything is haram. Everything is haram. And what do you get out of this? If everything is haram, you will do haram. What can I do? You do not. That's why one of the things that we need in this country, and alhamdulillah it's being happening. When you talk about economy, what we need in this country, and alhamdulillah it's being happening now, we need people who actually are scholars in economy, and they also scholars in Islam. So these people, when it comes to finance all these things, these are the people who are qualified to give us verdict, not people who taught in Al-Azhar, because Al-Azhar was there for that society. But today we have a problem. When we first came to this country, there is a guy, wallahi I remember this, I was the president of the Islamic Center of Jersey City, and that guy, he had, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him 8 girls, and no tenant, nobody wanted to give him rent. And every scholar who come from Egypt, he say, you cannot buy, a house from home through the bank. And we had to put him in the basement of the masjid, where there was rodents and all kind of things. And finally, he went and he bought a house. You understand? But for 20-30 years, everything was haram. It's not haram. Nobody come today and they say riba is halal. Nobody say that. But in a country, this is the ruling in here. Somebody who understand economics and understand the Sharia, these are the people who are qualified to do this, and that goes for everything. We were sitting once with Sheikh Qaradawi, which is one of the biggest scholars in the Middle East, and there was about almost like 20 medical doctors, and one of them, he say, Sheikh Qaradawi, how do you define death? What's death? Sheikh Qaradawi smiled. He say, you guys tell me. If somebody asks me what is death, I have to come to you and ask you what is death, so I can tell people what death is. But because I am not a doctor, I cannot say what is death. That when you stop breathing, is death when the heart stop, is death when the brain stop. You understand this? So the biggest problem with us, people who give rulings, wallahi, they're not qualified. And that's the problem. You sit down with people, wallahi, I hear Jum'ah khutab, wallahi, I want to cry. Everything is haram. And when you sit there, you're going to go to the hellfire. There is absolutely no hope. When we stand up and always talk about, always to our youth, always talk about dying for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahi, one scholar, he say, why don't we teach our kids to live for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to die in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not create us to die for his sake. Yes, if there is a need to die for his sake, yes, we are. But instead of stuffing kids with these ideas, why don't we teach them that our living, we live by this deen, and we live for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the problem. The problem is you and I, the majority of us, we're not qualified to teach our kids anything. And when we answer them, we never satisfy them because we do not have the knowledge. Allahu A'lam.
So I was with my cousin's son in Egypt.
Out of what?
With my cousin's son in Egypt.
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago, I think. And I was talking about Surah. And subhanAllah, he's a little bit younger than me, but he was saying that he never heard anything like as far as Surah, this, maybe it was a battle or something. And he was saying he never knew of these remarkable stories. So
because they do not teach us.
I was really surprised.
They do not teach us anything. You know. Talk to our kids. Who are they? What is their role models? Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, this LeBron, whatever it is. We have role models, and we have 3 role models, and we can teach them that. But the problem is we do not know. We do not know. So we are the wrong teachers. We do not teach our kids.
After your khutbah recently, maybe a few weeks ago, afterwards I asked you, what do you feel might be the most neglected or underappreciated sunnah of Rasulullah?
Yes.
And I think your answer was regarding his compassion.
Absolutely.
Because I think that day your khutbah was also one
Yes.
of compassion. And what I had in my mind was the most neglected tradition of Rasulullah was his wisdom. So what I mean by that is we pay a lot of attention to the Sunnah and the Seerah and the Sharia in terms of, in a very absolute way, that we have observations and we know the isnad of the observation, and so this is what we observed, and so we imitate. We observe, we imitate. But we never stop to say that, okay, we observed this, but what was the wisdom behind this observation? In other words, the Prophet did this in this circumstance, but if the circumstance is changed, he did something different. I mean, one of the examples that I always remember is that after the Meccans had violated the Treaty of Hudaybiyah and Rasulullah had returned to Mecca with 10,000 men on horseback, there were so many men with him who had been violated by the Meccans. In the sense they had had their properties seized, they had their family members killed,
Yes.
whatever, and they needed justice. But that day they didn't get justice because the wisdom of the Prophet was to look at the big picture, to look forward and see what is the best way to rule today for the long term. What way can I rule that would produce the greatest good? Had he ruled strictly according to Sharia, there would have been a lot of people punished that day. So this wisdom.
No, I disagree with you. I mean, Sharia. The biggest misconcept is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He chose prophets, He did not choose robots. He chose people who are trustworthy. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them a huge space that they can think and make up their mind. If you look throughout the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the Prophet ﷺ a huge space to think. And this is one of the biggest problems when we teach Seerah. When we teach Seerah, you have there is a scholar in Egypt. He's a Syrian scholar. When he talk about the Seerah, every page that or every incident that happened, he would list what is the benefit, how can we benefit from that. So the Prophet ﷺ, if you look at the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him, he did not use a robot. When it comes to haram and the halal, good and the bad, the Prophet ﷺ had no say in it. But how would he deal with the society problem and the issue? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lifted up to him. And then if his ruling was not good enough in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send the revelation and correct him. But if the ruling was okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will approve it. So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I mean, I can tell you, because this is when you say apply the Sharia, you have to apply the Sharia. But part of the Sharia is give you this space to work with. The Sharia is not black and white. Huh? People think the Sharia is al-hudud. Huh? When you do this, I cut your hand. That's not the Sharia. The Sharia is came to us to preserve 5 things. I'm going to give you one example. We understand that part of the Sharia is what we call ash-shura. Ash-shura means that as a ruler, you have to consult people. This is a ruling. It has to be done. But how do you consult? That differs from one society to the other society. In one society, is it gonna be everybody's gonna be voting? You understand? Or people you're gonna vote for what we call Majlis al-Shura. All these things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not come and say do it this way. He's just to give you the idea. You have to consult. But how do you consult? How do you run the society? These things are being. I'm going to give you one example. There is an ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, if you do not stop eating riba or dealing with riba, فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. There is, I want you to know, if you do this, there will be a war against you from Allah and His Messenger. You understand? So to me, when I read this ayah, I had big problem. Because if there is a war from Allah, if Allah gonna declare war, what is the significance of the Prophet? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, there is a war that's gonna be against you from Allah and from His Messenger. Why the Messenger? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gonna wage war against you. So when I read and search that, the ulama say, riba, although you're gonna be punished on the day of judgment, but it is also a civil violation. So there is also a punishment that happens in this dunya by the ruler. The ruler could be the Prophet or anybody who is in charge. So if you look at the Sharia, because when you say you rule by the Sharia, you have to rule by the Sharia. But the Sharia is not black and white. The Sharia is, the Prophet ﷺ was giving a tremendous space to think and to ponder and to come up with conclusion. And the Quran, whether will approve his ruling or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will correct it. So, but again, the biggest problem is not applying the Sharia. You have to apply the Sharia because this is the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the Sharia is not only cutting hands or doing this. People have tremendous misconcept about this. Wallahu a'lam. Okay. Ayah 105. I hope we answered to your satisfaction.
I think very much in agreement. Yeah, I mean, Quran itself says that it's a living book.
Yes.
So when you talk about being a living book, what I take away with me is that, if this book is to be applicable, from 1400 years ago, the time of Rasulullah, until the end of time, it has to be a living book. You have to be able to understand it and everything that goes with it. The Sunnah, the Seerah, and the Sharia, along with the Quran, has to be living. In other words, the time and the place in which you are living, it has to bend. It has to be applicable. It has to be able to be understood. It has to remain relevant in that time.
Absolutely.
You cannot simply say, okay, in the 7th century, this is the way they adjudicated. Therefore, in the 21st century, we will adjudicate in the same
The principles cannot change. But how do you apply it? And if you look at throughout the history, that was the case. One of the wisdom, if you look at the Quran, the Prophet ﷺ never ever explained the Quran. Do you know that? Never. Except if somebody goes to him and he, Ya Rasulullah, what this means. He would only give the meaning of a word or two. But this is the wisdom from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and from the Prophet ﷺ, that if the Prophet ﷺ would explain the Quran, what we call ijtihad will be cut. Nobody will say anything. If the Prophet ﷺ was reported by him that he explained the Quran ayah for ayah, what is the scholars going to do? Absolutely nothing. I cannot say anything. If the Prophet, when the Sahabi says something, when one of the community says something, he is a companion, he's a human being, and this is his understanding. It gives me, as a scholar today, it gives me the opportunity to say what I think. But if the Prophet would explain the Quran, there would be no ijtihad. Nobody can say anything after him. And this is the wisdom. That's why the Quran, you need to apply it at the Prophet ﷺ, Sayyidina Ali, he say, ربوا أولادكم يعني today if my son, I say the computer is the devil, I'm not going to give him a computer, I'm not going to give him a phone, where is your son going to be? You understand this? So you have to provide your kids with the tools that everybody has, but you have also to protect them by your deen. You try to teach them your deen. You understand this? So the biggest problem with us, we think that, you know something, one of the scholars, one of the biggest scholars in the history, Ibn Kathir is known. He authored lots of books, and one of the contemporary ulama, he say, one of the biggest problem that we have, that our reference is Ibn Kathir. You understand? What does this mean? Ibn Kathir, he had beautiful explanation, very rich book, but this is his understanding. You understand this? That does not mean that when Ibn Kathir or one of the companions say something, that this is the Quran. Every scholar who really understand, there is I don't know if you know Sayyid Qutb, very famous guy in Egypt, and he wrote a book. He say في ظلال القرآن, under the shade of Quran. And what he say this is my, not interpretation, my understanding of the Quran, but there will be always better understanding. And this is the case. And if you look at the history, 1400 years, this was always the case. Nobody ever say that this is the ruling that was done in the first century or second century. It has to be applied blindfolded. No, every society had, but that does not give us the space that we change the basics. The basics cannot be changed. There is no ifs and buts about it. But how to apply it is very different. Wallahu a'lam.
I love how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it's a kitab mubin. It's a clear book, so it makes us it encourages us to, we can read it.
Yes.
As a scholar has to read. So
you know something? One of the ayah in the Quran, it just say what you said. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, Kitabun anzalnahu ilayk. It's a book that I have revealed to you. Why? This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, liyadabbaru ayati. So people can actually reflect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not say to understand. You understand? Did not say understand. He say لِيَدَّبَّرُوا, which means if you and I are qualified to reflect on it, that is our duty. To reflect, not only to understand. And the part of reflect is, of course, you have to understand. But you and I have to reflect on the Quran. The Quran is encouraging us to read between the lines. And this is the beauty of this book. It's not, wallahi, I'm going to tell you something. Wallahi, when I was 5 years old, I read in Surah An-Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, you can marry 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Isn't it? In Surah An-Nisa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا فِي الْيَتَامَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, if you afraid that you're not gonna be just between the orphans, you can marry more than one woman. If you look at all the tafsir, it says about that I have a custody of a girl. I'm the custodian, but she is beautiful, and I wanna keep her for me. I wanna marry her. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the tafsir is, leave her alone, don't marry her. And you can go marry anybody else, 1 or 2 or 3. When I look at the ayah, it never really compute to me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about the orphans. He say, if you are afraid of not being just to the orphans, you can marry 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. My understanding was, my brother died and he have kids. I can go and take care of his kids. But his kids, I am just gonna go give them grocery, I'm gonna give him this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, if you think that you're not gonna give these orphans the same love and the care that you give your kids, marry that woman, the wife of your brother. This is what the Quran is saying. But who I am to say something like this? There was a scholar who came to us from Kuwait, and I asked him, I said, Sheikh, this ayah, I have a trouble with it, and this is my understanding. You know what he told me? He said, Wallahi, this is my understanding too, but I cannot, I have to bounce off to somebody else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is letting you and I to look at the Quran and reflect and see what you think. The only thing is, when you and I reflect and come up with something, we have to bounce it off to Ahl al-Ilm. I cannot say, this is my understanding. Who am I to be my you understand this? So I can reflect, but before I say something, I have to bounce this off to somebody who's much more knowledgeable than me. And this is the end. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He say, I send this book for every Muslim to ponder about it.